Hey Callum, how are you?
Hello, I'm okay. How are you?
Yeah, really, really good, thanks. It's so good to have you on the podcast. We've been friends for a long time, and it's like a pretty long time coming. I know, like I think we connected maybe like half a year ago, and
I was
then
just
ever
about to say
since
about
then,
6 months. Yeah,
yeah, half a
it's
year
about
ago,
six
and ever
months.
since then, it's been like you've been speaking like pretty much every month on like stuff that you're doing, stuff that I'm doing, stuff that you've helped out with Wing, and you've really like flourished the last 6 months, I have to say.
Thanks. I'd like to say I have. I've put a lot of work into everything that I've done and everything that I've been working on. So I probably really have stood out quite a lot, especially with us been talking quite a lot. So you've probably
Mm.
seen it a lot more. But yeah, it's been crazy. It's absolutely blown up over the last 6 months.
Yeah, it's difficult because as like a freelancer that you are, it's like you're all about obviously like raising your profile and like doing all these
Mm.
different posts to kind of to attract the clients to you. Um, I'm really interested before we kind of jump into like what you actually do. Like, was that something that came naturally to you? Like, were you like shouting about what you're doing?
Yeah, I guess it was actually. I've always kind of been able to shout about it because since my original business, which was like a retail business, I've been really good at finding PR or marketing. I've done it quite organically. It kind of comes down to when you don't have a marketing budget, you've really got to innovate.
Yeah,
You've really
yeah,
got to find ways to market yourself.
I know
So
that for sure. Yeah,
yeah, so it's naturally come in that sense. I guess it has. It just kind of came to me. Don't get me wrong. I've tried a lot of things that have worked and tried a lot of things that really didn't work. Um, and it turns out it's doing things like this that really work for me in the long run, doing live videos, video content, podcast, public speaking. Just a general post from me doesn't really, I don't, my personality, which apparently is the most investable part of me or the most likable part of me, you don't come across in them types of posts. So now what I
Mm,
mainly do is video content and so on and so on.
yeah. But I mean, your personality is like that's the thing that's like can be quite difficult to scale because it's like you're doing a lot of content. I mean, the best way is basically to just like record a content and just like do continuous things and stuff like that. Basically, what I'm trying to do with podcasting is like
Yeah,
it's always going to be there. So I understand why you're like trying to get onto podcasts because it does take your personality a snapshot of what it is right now, and like yeah, people can watch it kind of all the time or listen to it all the time.
yeah, completely. And one of the things I've learned with like doing like podcasts, live videos, things like that is yeah, this is one piece of content, but I can break this down no matter how long it is into 5, 10, 15, 20 pieces of different content. Just taking snippets out. And that's also what it came down to. Because I think one of the biggest struggles people get when they're marketing is, well, what should I post? What
Yeah.
should I post? What people are interested in? That's why I also like doing these kind of things because I can break them down into more pieces of content and kind of elaborate more on what that's about or so on and so on. And it helps so much.
Yeah,
So
it's very underrated that, like, I guess micro content and like it's something that I've definitely tried to explore on this podcast.
mm,
It's just difficult to do because it's just like you have to find people to do it for you, and like I'm doing 100 different things, and like for me, it doesn't give me as much value as I am guessing it would probably
yeah,
give you because you're kind of the way that the thing that you're doing is like the more exposure you get, the more clients you get, the more money you get. That's just the way the way it works. Like for me, it's a bit more convoluted because
yeah.
it's like yeah, people find me through LinkedIn, and then like, they might like take an interest in Wing or my NFT or whatever I'm doing, but it's a bit more sort of like convoluted. So I guess like it would be great to jump into what it is you actually do because we talked about freelancing, but specifically, what is it that you actually do?
Oh, it's a good shout. So my main thing is I'm a growth strategist. So I went by the term business coach for what 3.5 years. I've been self-employed for about five. Business coaching as a title for about 3.5. But for the last 6 months, as of recording this, the title coach just really didn't resonate with me anymore. I was like, I do way more than that. And I found myself saying, oh, I'm a coach, but I do way more than that. And I was like, it
Yeah.
shouldn't, it shouldn't need that caveat. So I'd say a few weeks ago, once again, just before recording this, I asked all my clients, I asked business friends, and I said, how does growth strategist sound? Does a growth strategist describe me and what I do and so on and so on? And all of them said yeah, because coaching's an element within that. So a growth
Mm.
strategist, it's a bit like, well, once again, what does that mean? I help you scale or grow your business, but I say it unconventionally. I do it in unconventional manners because that's how I've scaled my businesses, my success. And when I do think about it, one of my best friends actually said this to me was, "Oh, you're quite successful." And then he stopped and he went, "But I don't mean financially. I mean in what you've accomplished and, the respect that you've got and so on and so on." 'Cause obviously, we've talked a lot about me networking and how much I do it. And I know we'll probably end up diving into it, but
Yeah, yeah.
it is true the success and the things that I've got from that. And that ties in with growth strategy and being able to do that and teaching these people how to also do that in a different way, being unconventional in a conventional world. And that's what it comes to business. You need to pivot.
Mm,
There's a lot more to business than just coaching or mentoring. There's systems, there's processes, there's marketing. There's all these different things, all these different ways of doing it.
mm.
But a lot of the time, it is you have to now, especially after the last couple of years, you really need to look at how you can do it in a different, unconventional, pivotal way that
Yeah.
breaks the norms
But
completely. You've got
like,
to do it.
I have to ask because I know loads of people will be asking this. It's like, what does unconventional mean in this context? Like, specifically, how? Because like, what it's a blurred line, right? Like, so what is unconventional about you, about your practices, and about like what you're kind of promoting within businesses that you work with?
Okay, I'm a 26-year-old growth strategist that coaches and mentors business owners of all ages. That's unconventional in a sense.
Mm,
Conventional would be a business coach that is 40 plus, 50 plus, a
100%.
lot of the time predominantly male, um, in a suit that's been corporate and all these kind of things throughout these years. Whereas being unconventional, my age is already an aspect of it. It already breaks one of the biggest norms when it comes to it. And it's doing things differently. It's doing things other people are scared to do. And for me, if you could make someone go, "Oh well, I won't do that," that's what you want. That's what you're looking for. It's looking for that person that's going, "Oh well, I wouldn't do that. That's not what I'd really look at." And I had this, which is now one of my best friends, but it was my original PA. She's an amazing friend. She'll probably end up listening to this. But she used to say to me, "Oh, you need to be a little bit more professional," or "I wouldn't really say that." And it took me a little while, and I was listening to her, and it took me a while to go, actually, no, like, people will like me for being me. Eventually, someone will. There'll be other people like myself that will want to be themselves. And being yourself is such a hard thing in business. And once again, being yourself is unconventional because a lot of time you're expecting not to be.
Mm.
And that also ties in being unconventional for me.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. Whenever the way that I am in life as well, like I'm always kind of attracted to people, like the personalities where they're kind of like unapologetically themselves.
Yeah,
That's something that like I hate. Like I worked in consulting for like a year and a bit,
yeah,
and within that corporate space, there's so much like just fake stuff, like people acting like they're interested in something when they're just not, or like they act like they have knowledge in an industry that they just don't have any knowledge in, and
yeah.
it's like always just like pretending, and it's like it's fine to not know stuff. Like I don't understand why you're trying to like fake things. Like I ask questions all the time to people that are younger than me, older than me. Like it doesn't matter to me because it's just like I
Mm.
don't know the answer. I'm not going to pretend like I do. So any sort of like fake stuff, I feel like big corporates as well. That is a very common thing. It's like kind of
Completely.
yeah. So
I was,
like yeah, go on.
I was just going to say, for me, I love the fact of, there's a quote which once again ties on being unconventional. Be the dumbest person in the room.
Mm,
Right? Be the dumbest person. Don't worry about when people say, "Oh, be the smart person in the room." That don't mean arrogantly or whatever. For me, it means be the dumbest person is better because you'll just absorb from everyone else. You will just
yeah.
take from everyone else. If you are the dumbest person in the room, you can just absorb from everyone else. Even if you feel like you already know something, you can ask that person to go deeper because you don't understand it, and they will end up saying things that you don't possibly know, or you don't really think of it in that context. You think of it in a different way, and it's that's what I think. Once again, a lot of corporate people struggle with because they're more bothered about being a 10 out of 10 in something when I'd rather be a 9 out of 10 in lots of things. And it's called stackable skills. I'd rather be a 9 out of 10 in lots of things than a 10 out of 10 in just one, because there's a lot more
Yeah.
strength in that.
I think as well, like Callum, I think you did raise an interesting point. I'd love to get our like listeners' input on this. I think our generation is like more generalist
Mhm.
compared to like older generations. I don't really know why that is, to be honest. Maybe it's because they like to do like different things. Like for me, for
Yeah,
instance, I do podcasting, but I also like do wing and I do my NFT. And for you, like you do talking, but you also do like growth strategy within companies. I was like totally like they can. I mean, they're related, but they're different things, right?
yeah,
Fundamentally, and you have like networking groups as well that you run. So maybe it's just the variety aspect that like younger people like. I'm not sure, but it's a very interesting point that you raised. I'd love to kind of like talk about how you started in this space. Like we talked about, I guess, like going into companies and
Mhm.
bringing up these unconventional growth strategies. And I do want to dig into that a bit deeper later on the episode. But how did you actually get started in this space?
In this space was organically. So my first business back when I was 21, I'm 26 now. My first business was a retail business selling eco-friendly products. And when I say you have people saying all the time that they wing it. Like you just have people all the time saying that they are winged business. I did this, I did that. Pun intended with wing, obviously. But it's they winged it all the time, and that is true. I had no one around me that was self-employed, no one in my family that was self-employed. I was classed as disadvantaged at school. I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD until last year as of recording this. So I've gone for all these years of my life without knowing I've got ADHD. And it literally was like, I'm 21, I've got no collateral, I don't have kids, I don't own a home, I don't have any loans, I don't do anything. Do it now. And don't get me wrong, there's lots of things out there. So where I am in Hull in East Yorkshire, there was a great group locally, and I just went to them, and they literally had a course which was free to go on and just learn about business. But once again, you just learn the kind of description of business. You didn't really learn.
Mm,
You got taught how to run it and different things, and but you didn't really have someone going, "This is what you need to do to run a business and to launch
yeah.
it." It was really one of the things, and I just had to wing it. But then it goes back to the cliche thing of you're as good as the people around you. So that's why, as soon as I humanly could, that PA I was just talking about, we met through a mutual friend, and she got me into networking. And as soon as I got around these people, and I was like, I'm winging this as much as I am. It's like just get in with them business people, and that is how I started. And people
Mm,
go, well, where do I look for them? Google the word networking.
yeah.
Networking near me. Just Google it. Um, don't get me wrong. A lot of them are gonna hound you to join.
Mm.
They're gonna hound you to join and pay the membership fee. There's a lot of free ones. I tried all of them. Like I'm a tank.
There's a
Like
lot of money in this space where like you pay but you don't really know what the value is there, and like I mean
absolutely.
you probably more than a lot of people know that.
Yeah, like completely. And it's one of them. I'll admit, right? I used every single free visit, every single free thing I could. I didn't have any cash flow. I didn't even know what cash flow was.
Yeah.
I didn't have any money. So I started just going to all these free visits, and a lot of them they offer like 2 visits for free. So I maxed out. Other than the only ones I couldn't go to was the women only ones because obvious reasons. But I just did. And then it got to it, and
Mm.
I got chatting back to Michelle, who was the PA. And I went, which one would you recommend? You've got to know me. You've got to know my personality. And she kind of gave me a pros and cons list for like 3 of them. And she was like, now it's up to you. You need to pick one. And I ended up investing in one on the people, not on what else was in it. And I was like, I like the
Yeah.
people here. Like, I like the people. I can get on with them. They've had conversation. We've grabbed coffees, talk about life. And that's what I looked at. And you know, people that have never networked before, look for that bit. Don't just look for where can you
Mm.
get the most money from. You've got to find people.
Yeah.
It's just one of them things.
But like what was the ambition for you at that point? You were 21 years old, right? Like you were
Mm.
going to this business course, like you were learning our business. It probably didn't resonate with you as much as you thought it would, but it's
Nope.
like why did you decide to go to networking groups? Like what for you is like what was the ambition there? What were you trying to get out of it?
Okay, so 2 things. I never shut up. So a location or a space where I can constantly talk and get to know people and chat to them was perfect for me. That was at my time. That was my best form of marketing. Was talking to people. No matter who it was, whether it's a random person at the bus stop or anything like that.
Yeah, but
But I,
when you say market, I hate to cut you off, but when you say
right.
marketing, like what were you marketing? Like what, as in like what were you trying to sell to them? If you were trying
So
to
for
sell
me, at
anything,
first, it was public speaking.
okay,
It was public speaking at first. I had this business, and this business was blew up because no one else was doing it. It was an eco business, and literally no one in the city within about 40
got
miles
you,
was doing this.
got you.
So I got so much marketing, and I got asked to do a gig here and a gig there. And I was like, oh well, this could be great. I could monetize this. So I got into networking, and I honestly kid you not, the first one that I joined it. I did this pros and cons list, joined it as a public speaker. And this guy came up to me and he went, "Oh, so what do you do for business?" I went, "Oh, I'm a public speaker. Don't forget, I've got this retail business, but I'm not there for the retail business. I'm there for public speaking." And this guy went, "Yeah, but what's your business?" I went, "Public speaking." "No, no, no, you're not getting the point." I went, "No, that is what my business is." I went, "Well, I'm a public speaker. It's not my business. I don't get paid for it." I went, "Well, I've been paid for the first 2 gigs that I've done. Like, if you've not been paid, like, what do I do?" That was my first experience, and I still stuck to it. Like, a lot of people would go, "Well, what an obnoxious guy. Like, why would I stay in this?" So I originally went for public speaking on that aspect. And that's even
But
saying that, that's
what
the
were you public
first look I got.
speaking? What were you public speaking about?
Me, just me, how I got to it, how I started, why I wanted to do business. My first gig was actually my college where I went to, where I studied catering. So it was just like what I've learned in there. So like life skills that I've learned from there that have got me to opening a business, why I
Mm,
started a business. And it was also talk about to people where I wanted to go with it. Like where was I going to be in 3, 5, and 10 years time? Where was I
yeah.
looking at? But I did it on 3, 5, and 9 because after 9 years I would have been 30. So I did it on 3, 5, and 9 years. And it was talking that, and it was literally just about me, what I'd learned so far, where I'd been, what the plan was, how the funding, and it was just for the people that booked me. It was to get the younger. It was aimed at younger generation to think about self employment and if it was a route for them, and that
Got
it's
you.
possible, like that it's possible. But the talk was just about me, and I winged it. I
But
completely winged it.
were you actually getting like? I knew you self-employed, you had the retail business, but like, what was business like at that point? Was it big? Like, did you? I know you were winging it, and like there is like there can be a sense of fake it till you make it with a lot of these things. I'm not like
Mm,
accusing you of that at all, but it's like I guess yeah. Did you ever feel imposter syndrome at that point?
absolutely, because I had a business partner when I started this. I took a £15,000 loan out, and overnight he stole £7,500 of it and gambled it.
Oh my god.
So the £15,000 loan was my own loan. Naivety was that he's ran several businesses in the past, researched it, and he had and there was successful. But the money was mine because he couldn't get any money because he had a mortgage and so on and so on. He couldn't get it, and he gambled it. And this imposter syndrome was crap. I've got this money now. I've got £7,500 left. I've had to pay for X amount of things already, which are now irrelevant. I'd spent about £2,500 of it on stuff I didn't even need anymore because
Hmm.
once again, winging it. And I was like, I'm sat here with like
And
five thousand
people
pounds.
are like looking up to you in that
Yeah,
space,
like
and as well, you're getting paid
yeah,
to speak. Yeah.
family. I'm getting paid. I've done this, blah blah, and I've always spoken about the theft. I've done that ever since pretty much it happened. Because the biggest thing I did with that was that person is still my best friend to this day.
Wow.
Because he had to be. Otherwise, it would have eaten at me, and I would not be where I am now. I know it. I would not have been. And it was complete imposter syndrome. And it was people like, "Oh, you're so successful," blah blah blah. And it is where when people are self-employed, we all talk about it. I've never met anyone that hasn't. When you are self-employed within the first 3 to 5 years, it will be the poorest you have ever been.
Mhm.
You know, if you get lucky and you get very well off financially, amazing. But there is some fake it till you make it. I've stolen books, right? I've stolen books to help my business because I couldn't afford them and I couldn't pay for them. Very equivalent to like Stephen Bartlett stealing Chicago Town pizzas because he was hungry. He was trying to get his business going. I stole a couple of books. I'm not proud of it, but because I was like, I need to make this work now. I have this money there. I need to do it, and I have all these people looking. I'm getting interviewed by BBC Radio Humberside, like this amazing young entrepreneur, blah blah blah, and it's mad. And kind of like 4 months ago now, I talked to the lady who founded that course that I went on. We had a good catch up. She went, "Do you know you became the face of young entrepreneurs for East Yorkshire for 3 years?" Did I? She went, "Yeah, yeah." And I'm like, I looked at it and I was like, was I drunk for all of that? Like, was I? Because I just didn't see it, but it's because of what I was looking at and facing myself. I
Yeah.
didn't see these because them things to me, what she saw, I kind of didn't take any gratitude towards it because for me, I was like, I need to do these things because this is what will make my business work. So I was like,
Mm.
what was I? For me, I was just going on the radio. I was speaking at keynotes. I was going to the dinners. I was going to the schools because I had to, because that's what made the business work.
Yeah. Yeah. So like that, it went from like that retail business to you speaking about that retail business, you speaking about the
Mhm.
theft and stuff like that. I think like probably, and then over time you became better as a public speaker and kind of
Yeah.
you got that kind of you cemented your position as like I guess more of a mentor position more than anything, and like
Mhm.
yeah. So was that the ambition from day one doing these talks?
No. The ambition of the talks were to become a public speaker, having my business in the background, that just taking over,
Yeah.
franchise it, um, and then just public speaking about it, and being like Ben Francis and Stephen Bartlett, two people that I look up to, and being like them with these assets in the background while I'm running around willy nilly doing
Mm.
whatever. By this point, by the way, this shop was 6 foot by 4 foot in a market. It's a shop because it had a shutter, which is why I classed it as a shop. Technically, it was a stall. It was a
Yeah,
shop
yeah.
because it had a shutter and I had a key. And don't get me wrong, like I launched a representatives program. I had 46 people around the country selling my products on commission.
Mm.
I don't know if that was legal, but I did it. Because once again, it was making sure I got that money in.
Yeah.
And I really don't know if it was legal or not, but I did it, and it was really one of them things. So yeah, I don't know what the end ambition was when we speaking. I
Mm.
just wanted to be a public speaker. I don't really think I thought that far ahead.
Yeah. But like the thing is, Callum, you grew up in an area and you talked about how like this wasn't a job for like that you've seen anyone else do and like what you're
Nope.
doing right now. So I guess like for you, when was the kind of light bulb moment of you going into this space that you are right now? Like did how did you approach your first client? Like how did all that stuff happen? Did they approach you? Like, yeah, what was the process?
So I'm kind of nicknamed like the ideas man. It's one of my newest clients that's kind of nicknamed me that, and everyone else once again agrees. And I've always been like it. Even when I was employed, I've been like it. I've always been the guy going to employers. Oh, I've got this idea. I've got this. I've got that. Or we should look at this. We should look at that. And it was saying that to business owners about their business in a very non-offensive way. It was just like, oh, I've had this idea if you're open to it. And I end up helping one guy without even thinking about it. Like he said, more in that mentoring role, helped him out a bit more in that. And I helped a couple more people. And when I say I found them, it was more like I don't know how they kind of just appeared and I was talking to them. Like if I think back on it now, once again, this kind of like drunken state of not really taking anything in.
Were you getting paid for those ones?
No, completely free. Right. So
Hmm.
this is the point. And then so mentoring role first. Then I realized I was helping a lot of people, and a lot of people wasting my time because they weren't doing anything with my help and advice. So then I started bringing in more of a coaching streak because I was like, well, actually, we're going to go sit in. It was Yates. We used to go sit in Yates,
Hmm.
sit there. We're going to get a drink. You're going to sit there. You're going to fucking do it. Like simple as that. You're going to sit there. You're going to fucking do it because you're not wasting my time. Right. Okay. And then this number just dropped because all these people were like, oh, well, I was just talking to you about this idea kind of thing. I'm like, right, great.
Hmm.
And the first two official people I helped. One was a plant shop and one was a photographer. That plant shop now is a 6-figure high street store and they've just opened a bar. And the photographer now is one of the biggest photographers in Leeds. So, and it was just helping them from that point. Then I got very long story short, I got one of them into networking. He met actual coaches and things, and he came back to me and he said, "How much would you charge for me to help you?" Charge? Just buy me a Nando's? Like, what do you mean charge? And it's because he met these and he went, they do what you do, but you do it better because you think outside the box and you actually
Yeah,
understand me
yeah.
and my business and the way I'm trying to think about it. And it just came from there. And I remember the first time I ever charged anyone for an hour of my time, I charged them £25. Remember that? And it was very much like out of this drunken state now. Like someone's just paying me 25 quid to talk to me for an hour.
Yeah, but
Like,
it's more of the like it doesn't even matter about the money, like how
yeah,
much it
at
is. It's more
all.
about like someone's willing to pay
Yeah,
this amount of like we got it for Wing at the beginning. It was like someone's actually willing to pay for this, and then it's like that
well,
light bulb moment. It's like, oh, if I improve, if I get more clients, I could charge more. Like it's that light bulb moment where someone's actually willing to pay. That's the difference.
absolutely. And do you know what? I know it sounds really daft, but it was the fact it was into my bank and not into my hand as cash. It's like I
Yeah,
could actually see
yeah,
them numbers in a bank account. Because
that's
I
true.
remember the day that £15,000 business, I screenshotted the day my business loan went in. Like, really, I wish now I'd go back and go, send it back, send it back. But it was that £25 dropped to my bank, and I was like, someone cares about my time.
Mm,
All these years I've put this energy into employers and so on and so on, trying to help them,
yeah.
and they never cared. Someone now values my time is the bit.
Mm.
And yeah, so it kind of came from there. Like I say, a lot of it was kind of like a drunken kind of
So you
set.
weren't searching for clients like yourself. It's just they came to you because a question I was going to ask, like when I'm doing research, was like around like because loads of freelancers exist, right? Like and so many
Yeah.
of them like there's more now than there were probably before. Like it's increased and like you getting all these different types of gigs. I was going to ask like how was it getting your first client? Like, did you have to search a lot? Like, how was it emotionally on you? But for you, it was like you didn't know that you could charge. You were having these conversations for free with these individuals, and then you got one person who's like, "Yeah, I'd rather pay you than this guy because like you're
Yeah.
more knowledgeable." And like, yeah,
I've even had a guy. So fast forward once again, about 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, from this, someone asked me for a meeting, and I don't mind admitting they won't work with me because I'm too cheap for the value I gave them. They was like, the amount of
mm,
value you give us, you are too cheap. Like, are you going to end up flaking out on us? Like, and it made me go back to the drop. Don't get me. There is also a kind of side note. They ended up finding someone a bit more to their industry and their niche. They was
yeah,
like, we would have just said to you, we are going to pay you more money. And once again, that was only a few months ago from this. I've done this for 3.5 years at this point. For someone to go to me, I need to put an extra zero on the end of my invoice
mm,
before they work with me because that's what they want to pay me after one hour conversation. Not even an hour, it was 20 minutes. It was a 20-minute conversation. Is mad. Like, that's absolutely
yeah,
mad. It's like I'm now out of this drunken state. I've been out of this drunken state for a while. By the way, when I say drunken state, I wasn't actually drunken. It was kind of just like a haze. Like everything
yeah,
just
yeah. I
kind of
get you. I
blurred
get
into
you.
it. Just didn't focus on it. So yeah.
Before we wrap up, Callum, I'd love to get, I guess, like practical advice on like the stuff that you, I guess, like a snippet of, or say that plant shop, for instance, or the
Mhm.
photographer, or like any client that you have at the moment. It's like, I guess you speak to them, you have an initial call, you learn about their problems and stuff like that. When do you start injecting that sense of unconventionality, if that's a word? I think it
Yeah.
probably isn't, but
We'll
you
work
get
with
what
that.
I'm trying to say. Like, when does that start introducing itself, and what are the kind of like growth strategies that you would give to those individuals, I guess, like as a tip for business owners that are listening right now?
Okay, so the photographer, give him a great one. So the photographer was like, "Oh, I want to get more product shoots." I was like, "Right, okay." And remember, by this point, I've not really worked with anyone. So I was like, "Right, okay. What type of product shoots?" He was like, "Well, I've shot like nightclubs and things in the past, but I'd maybe like to do a little bit more like scene setting for websites and so on and so on." I was like, "Right, okay." So what I did is I sent him the task. He only had a push bike. He didn't drive. He didn't have a motorbike or anything. He had a push bike. So take your push bike and your camera, and in Hull we have like two streets called the Avenues, which is connected. At one end is like the city centre. At the other end is the university. So it's like the main like university crawl. So it's always busy. It's cocktails, good food, everything like that. I said to him, I went on a Friday evening or a Saturday evening, cycle down and just take a picture of this venue. Take a couple on the outside, just of the ambience, of the lights. Do it for all the ones you want, not for all of them. Take them back, edit them, pick one photo, and print it out, just that one, and write on the back of it like a postcard, and send it to the
Mm,
restaurant. So basically, you've shown them the type of photo you literally want to take of their venue. Right on the
mm.
back, send it to them, put your contact number on. Every single one of them booked him.
Wow. Yeah, I
Every
mean,
single
it's
one of
those
them.
sort of marketing strategies
Yeah.
that I definitely fall in love with, and like we are exploring them for Wing, like doing stuff like that,
Mm.
because they do work really well. They get people's attentions, then you can like write about them on LinkedIn, and like you can foster even more attention from the back of that. We're doing a lot of them for my NFT also. It is those unconventional strategies that will get you both like new clients because it gets you noticed, but also it will get you the attention of other people through like writing about them, you know.
Yeah.
So I do fully agree with you.
And it was, and then like the kind of thing where that was, because then, so it's also looking at the stages after. It was like, once you get in, then we're going to give them a package where you go back every season and do it. And, then
Mm,
you're also going to go on Mother's Day and you're also going to go on Christmas. And it was also just building up this kind of like 12 months of revenue,
yeah.
which he got from one marketing stint. And
Mm,
once again, it was kind of like, it sounds so obvious, but it was kind of making it obvious and then going and doing it. And once again, that's staying unconventional because I'm not a photographer. I don't know how photographers would have gotten in there. It's just the
yeah.
way I see it is that's how I would do it, and that's
Mm,
how we did it, and it worked.
amazing. I think that's an amazing note to end on, to be honest. So,
Yeah.
Callum, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. It's been such a pleasure having you on. How can people stay in touch with you and what you're kind of getting up to in the meantime? And I think it is probably worth noting that you are like looking to get on 100 podcasts by the end of this year, which is like a pretty cool thing. And I think you're in, how many are you on right now,
Well, I've got
including
12.
this
I've
one?
got for this year. For this year, I've got 12 books so far.
Cool.
But I've been on them before. But for this year, I want 100 for this year. But I'm in talks with a lot of people. So I've got 12 booked, but it's only March when we're recording this.
Yeah,
Like, you know,
yeah,
I've done 2. This is my second one today, so I'm starting to fly
yeah.
through them. But
Mate,
no, if
it's
people want to get
exhausting the recording. Yeah, go on.
absolutely. But if people want to get in touch with me, it is Instagram, it is my website, but in particular, it's my YouTube channel at the moment. Because obviously, as we both know, as of recording this, I'm about to go traveling for a month or two around Europe. So if people actually want to see what I'm getting up to and what I'm doing, it'd be my Instagram, my website, my LinkedIn, but in particular, my YouTube.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, Callum, again for joining me, and I'm sure we'll speak soon. Thanks very much.
Cheers.